Are the Knicks a fluke? The Knicks are currently on pace to win 40 games this season, after Vegas projected the team to only finish with 22 wins coming into the season. And this has not only stunned the fans, but the world alike. We are also going to talk about the state of RJ Barrett and the disrespect he's getting from the NBA. We got all of that plus more on OUA. Hello everyone, I'm Kenny Smith, joined by the lovely Miss Sue Lee. How you doing?
Hello.
And we would like to welcome you to another episode of OU and Knicks podcast, where we talk about the current state of the Empire franchise, plus more. And I would also like to say, if you're new to the channels, please punch that like button and subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date with all of our current videos. Now let's get to it. Say it ain't so, the Knicks won't go. The Knicks currently sit at the 4th spot in the Eastern Conference, which means they could go into the playoffs with home court advantage, but also a face-off with a hungry Hawks team, who some would say are a surefire to beat the Knicks and end their Cinderella story. Now I ask you, Miss Lee, would losing to the Hawks in the first round be a failure to a good Knicks season?
You know my take. I'll say yes and no, to be fair. I mean, they already beat the Hawks, right? How many, what?
We currently swept the Hawks this season, actually.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, we swept the Hawks 3 games.
Then I'll say yes. Because if they go into the playoff, they played the Hawks in the first round, correct?
Correct. Currently at this time.
At this time, if the playoffs will start today, they'll be playing the Hawks. So I would say yes. To go and lose in the first round to the Hawks when you already done swept them during the season, to me that would be a failure. It's like all this hard work you don't put in, now you in the playoffs and you're gonna lose to them in the first round. Right. So yes.
I kind of feel the same way because of the simple fact that we swept the Hawks. I feel that the Knicks, when fully healthy, are a team who can really beat any team in the NBA. I know that it's like when you talk about like the Brooklyn Nets and you talking about like the Phoenix Suns and the Denver Nuggets and the Utah Jazz and maybe you could put Philly and Milwaukee in there. I know that most people will say that the Knicks don't have any type of chance against these teams, but maybe it's because I'm a Knicks fan, or maybe it's something that I just see that other people don't see. But I feel like the Knicks could go up against any one of these teams if the Knicks are fully healthy. When the Knicks are fully healthy, they are not only loaded on their starting lineup, but they're also loaded on their bench with Emmanuel Quickley, Alex Burke. You have Derrick Rose, who's been having a phenomenal season since he's been on the Knicks. I just feel like if the Knicks were to lose to the Hawks in the first round, I feel like if the Knicks would be to lose in the first round, I don't think that it'll be a failure to our season, but I think it will hurt nonetheless.
It would be a disappointment, and been watching them all season long. I see their ups, their downs. I've seen I even will make predictions of what I would think they should do and stuff like that. And I look at them playing other teams. The fact that they beat the Clippers last night, and the Clippers had all their players, that just let me know that the Knicks, like you said, they can beat any team as long as they continue to play their type of ball game, continue to be on defense, constantly play defense, because can't nobody play up against their defense. And I know once they start digressing in that, that's when the teams feel like they have an advantage over them. But once the Knicks start defending them and stopping and shutting all of them down from losing, and then the Knicks start going on a shooting spurt, they start losing, you can see the effects that it has on the teams, because then they start copping attitudes. They start saying, oh, you fouled me here, this is not getting called. You get to see all of that. And then sometimes the refs might go in their favor and call certain stuff.
Wait, hold on. We don't want to go too much in depth on the refs, because that is a topic that we're going to be touching later in the segment. So I really don't want to go too far into the refs, because I really have a strong input on especially how the refs treat RJ Barrett. But I don't want to go too far into that segment, so we're gonna save that segment right there, talking about the referees. But it's good that you did mention that, because we definitely got to talk about that. But overall, I feel like, yeah, I mean, if it's the Hawks the Knicks are losing to, it will be disappointing. It will be very disappointing because of the simple facts that we swept this team. But just coming from where the Knicks have come from over this decade, to be honest, besides the times that, when we had, I was about to say LaMelo, excuse me, when we had Carmelo, and we had Jason Kidd, and we had Tyson Chandler, J.R. Smith, when we had that crew under Mike Woodson, and they went, they won a 50-something odd game season. That's the only time that I could say within a decade that the Knicks have actually had something to where you like, yo, listen, next year is going to be something. But now that is the case now. So me saying that it's a end all be all, and I will definitely feel heartbroken, but because of how the Knicks have played this season and what the Knicks have achieved this season, I feel like, it's still a good story to, go into the offseason with and to build off of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, knowing that a lot of, critics had basically counted them out.
Right.
They didn't even think they were going to make it this far.
Right.
But it's, it's a matter of continue to prove the viewers and everyone else out there that don't have confidence in them to just prove them wrong. Like, listen, we are capable. Yeah, y'all haven't seen this in over a decade since we've been in this position, but look where we at. Give us our credit. Give people the credit that they are appointed to. Just do that. And the fact that they're actually doing it, a young squad under the coach that they have, big up to Tibbs, and they listening, and they're doing it with, limited players, and, they shown that they're capable. They're, capable of going far and, exceed everyone's expectations.
Right. And that's only, which I was happy that she brought it up, so we might as well just lead into that right now. That will depend on the officiating in the NBA. Credentials versus officials. Now, currently, RJ Barrett is averaging 18 points for the Knicks. He is currently attempting 15 shots or more during games, but only visiting the line 2 times per game. I'll ask you, Miss Lee, are officials not giving Barrett the benefit of the doubt?
I'll say yes. They're not giving him the benefit of the doubt, because there's plenty of times just watching the game, and I get loud and I have to get calmed down, because I'm like, they're not calling these fouls for this kid. And it's sad. And I understand regardless of who they're playing. And it's the officiating is so unfair. You cannot pick and choose who you're gonna make calls for. I don't care if it's the president of the United States on the court. That's just wrong. If they commit a foul, commit a foul. But if I notice if the Knicks do the same foul to another player that they didn't call for Barrett, but they'll call it for the next person, that's like so hypocritical to me. And I feel like if you're gonna call it for one, you need to call it for the other. You can't pick and choose who you may call for, because blatantly there's plenty of times I see this kid get fouled and he just looking like, oh, y'all not gonna say nothing. What, you want him to be like the other players that if you don't call it, they sit up there and cuss you out, and then you want to give him a technical? He's not, but you got to know who you're dealing with. If you know, especially if a person is not that outspoken, because I think that's what it is. I think if they notice that certain players is not too expressive, they don't express themselves as much, they just gonna take whatever you say and don't respond.
Did you notice? Excuse me, I don't mean to cut you off, but did you notice that he got a technical foul at the start of the fourth quarter in the Phoenix Suns game?
I didn't even know that was a technical, but I know they gave him,
because of the fouls. That was his first foul, technical foul, I believe, this entire season. If you're watching this video right now and you know the answer to that question, and I may be wrong, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comment section. Let me know that I'm wrong, because even I don't always look up all the stats like right then and there. So some of the majority of the things that we are giving you are off the top of our head right now. Just thinking about the Knicks and what has occurred throughout the season. But I really do think that was his first technical foul. And it baffles me that R.J. Barrett, a person who's driving to the majority of R.J. Barrett shots are drives to the rim. On average, R.J. Barrett is driving to the rim at least 10 times per game. And out of those 10 times per game, maybe once or twice somebody will be called for a foul. And it baffles me, because when you're in the game and you're watching the game and you see these things happen and you see the referees look the other way, you have no, if you're a person who thinks like me, I think about everything that goes on. I'm thinking 24/7. I think so much that it's hard for me to go to sleep sometimes. So I overanalyze things sometimes, but I don't feel like I'm overanalyzing what I see from R.J. Barrett. Continuously, this kid drives to the paint, gets fouled, and he's looking up at the ref. He ends up on the floor, and he's looking up at the ref like, you're not going to call it? I see this kid hang his head constantly, walking off of the court like they will not call the fouls. The only person that I can honestly say on our team that gets the fouls, and he doesn't even get them all the time, is Julius Randle. Derrick Rose sometimes, Emmanuel Quickly sometimes, but Julius Randle the most, and he doesn't even get as many foul calls as he should be. We seen David Griffin get fined $50,000 because he had a word for the officials of them not calling as many calls that should have been called for Zion Williamson. This has become something that's a repetition, and it's something that has gone on to where where the refs are catering to certain superstars and stars alike and teams alike. If your team is on the upper echelon of the league, the calls will go your way. If you're a mediocre team, calls will not go your way once you face a upper echelon team. And that's just how the NBA is rolling right now. And I wish that it would be more fair, and I wish that they would stop.
And it's wrong. I feel like they should go back to old time basketball at times. But apparently you can't do that because everybody in the league is too soft. They all too sensitive. So you can't even let them play how old time basketball used to play. Because nowadays everybody gonna cry about everything. So
And not only that, when the stars cry, it seems like the whole game starts to be swung their way. Like I noticed that with the Phoenix game. If you really look at the game, the Knicks were at the beginning of the game and towards the the second quarter, the Knicks were up on the Phoenix Suns and whooping the Suns. And it was obvious that the Knicks were going to come out with the victory. What happened? All I kept seeing was Chris Paul and Devin Booker crying to the refs on the sideline.
complaining.
And I knew, I'm like, watch in the second half how everything changed. The second half came, the Knicks still had their little mojo, their momentum going for them, and the continuous complaining from Chris Paul and Booker, and I said, watch is about to happen. And truly, indeed, it swung their way because of the ref. You start seeing the Knicks get into multiple foul troubles. You start seeing the Knicks being fouled and nothing being called, to the point where I saw Julius Randle talking to the refs like, "Yo, man, this dude hits me every time I go to the paint. This kid Craig is hitting me every time. Bridges, I believe that's his name, Miles, whatever his name is. He's hitting me every time. He's doing the same thing to RJ, and none of y'all are calling it. What is the problem?" And I feel like the referees, man, need to be fined. When you go, I feel like in order to get the point across for the referees to be fair in the NBA, I think that when they do the review and say that this should have been called, that should have been called, this shouldn't have been called, that should have been called, I think that in the time of the referees making a mistake, I think that they should be fined $2,000. And I guarantee you, if you start finding these, if you voice your complaints to the if since when the players voice their concern and the coaches and whoever voice their concerns with the referee, they get fined. When the referees make a mistake, they should be fined. Anytime that a challenge is made on the court and it is overturned and it shows that the referee was at fault for that call, they should be fined. And I guarantee once you start fining them enough and it's hitting their paycheck, I guarantee fault calls will start being fair, and both teams, no matter what they are, will get the fair calls.
I can agree with that.
I would love for them to do that.
They should. Because, like I always said, the NBA is rigged anyway.
In some cases, because I totally feel like, and if you guys have been following me for a long time, especially on Twitter, you already know that I've been writing for sports blogs since about 2015, 2016. So you guys have already read my stories that I published on that season that where Golden State first won their first title against the Cleveland Cavaliers. I felt that was entirely rigged. I literally witnessed Iguodala elbow hit LeBron James in the face. LeBron fell out. He looking at the refs like, "You're not gonna call that?" The referees just kept moving the other way. I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is rigged. This is bad officiating." So I mean, referees, you guys need to step it up first and foremost, and the league, you guys need to step it up with penalizing these officials for creating the wrong calls. Which moves on, to the next subject, as we turn the tables on this segment that we are currently on. With 4 more games to go, the Knicks will be facing teams that are right now fighting for a playoff spot or a play-in spot. So it's fair to say that these games won't be easy at all. We face the Los Angeles Lakers Tuesday, then go on to face the Spurs and the Hornets and the Celtics at home to finish out the season. I ask you, Miss Lee, what are your expectations for these last 4 games?
I expect for the Knicks. So it's 4 games left.
Yeah.
So at least expect for them to win. To be honest, they well capable of winning all 4 of these last games, to be honest with you.
They are.
I mean, yes. Anthony Davis had a breakout night last night in however long. So, him scoring 42 points. I didn't get a chance to watch the game because I fell asleep. But the fact that it's been a while since you done scored 40-something points. So, plus LeBron is still hurt. So even if they don't beat the Lakers tomorrow, they still are capable of beating the Spurs, the Hornets, and the Celtics.
The Spurs beat us.
Yeah,
they beat us bad.
But they still capable. Okay, I could say if they lose that one. But even if they lose that one, I mean, you're facing the Hornets.
Now, I'm not saying that for sure that they're going to lose to the Spurs. I just want you to keep that in mind that when the Knicks played the Spurs, did you see that?
Yeah,
game?
But I think they had that game. But they let it go.
The Spurs beat
But the Knicks had that game, and that's the thing. Even these last couple games, they've been starting out real slow.
They have.
It's like,
but to be honest with you, I've noticed that with the Knicks this entire season that they start their game slow. They build back up towards the end of the first quarter, and then they go into the second quarter with their bench, and they bench, rise their little wave and get the Knicks over the top, and then the other team, the opposing team, goes on their little run, and by the middle of the game, they're pretty much tied, or they're either going to have the lead or they're going to be down. But the majority of the time, the lead don't be too far from it's like with the Knicks game, their second halves really decide the game. Like, you really can't rely on their first half because anything can happen. We've seen ones where they're down a hell of a lot in the first half and come back and beat the team. You get what I'm saying?
That's true. They capable of doing that.
We've seen games where the Knicks are killing it in the first half, and in the second half they just fall to the wayside. So I mean, in my opinion, the Knicks can go on a 4-game win streak to end out the season.
Yeah,
that would
they
be
can.
Great because they'll end the season 42-30, which is awesome.
Right.
That is a tremendous. That's 20 games above your projected win in Vegas. You doubled it. That is amazing.
Right. Imagine if it was the full 82 games.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was the full 82 games,
and they were spaced out more with
and
more
it,
reps.
Right, and it was exactly. So I could have probably projected them about 52.
No, I say about 45. 45, 43. 45, 43.
Well, even it out. I'll give.
No, I mean, excuse me. I don't know where my mind was. I give them 42-40. 42-40 or 45 37. 45-37. You get what I mean? Like, that's where I would have put them, because it's 82 games, so 45-37, that's 82. So that's where I would
I could see that 40, if it was the 80, the whole 82 season.
Yeah,
I could see that, and that would still be a good season.
Mm-hmm. It'd be 44-30. Wait, I say 37.
Yeah.
37.
But that still would have been a good if they was playing 82. But right. You got to see how competitive the season has been.
The season been even more competitive.
Yeah,
than
and it really
would be if it was an 82
right,
season.
and it really just kind of let you see how teams really matches up.
Yeah,
to
right.
be honest with you.
Right.
It really does. It really just lets you see how teams really match up, because you got teams that's fully loaded with superstars.
Right.
And you have teams that's not loaded
Who
with
just
superstars.
like the Knicks, who
you know
just
what I'm
have
saying?
that primary. We had that one star,
right?
But everybody else complements that star,
right? And then you have the teams that do have stars and they're struggling, but then you have the teams that, like, to be honest with you, I just want to see how Golden State is really gonna pull out in this play-in.
Yeah,
I really do. I'm really itching.
They are because an interesting team.
Because that's a one-man show right now.
Right.
To be honest with you.
It is.
That's a one-man show. And to see if the Lakers play against them in the play-in.
See, what do you think? What do you think about that? All right, we're gonna leave the Knicks right now, because we both agree that we feel like they can win all 4 games, right? Yeah. Worst case scenario. What's your worst case scenario?
My worst case scenario is they'll win 2 out of the 4. I'll just say 2 out of the 4.
2-2. That's my worst case scenario too. 2-2. But my best case scenario that I would like to see is a 4-game
win. Yeah, going a 4-game streak.
Okay,
right.
Now back to what you was talking about as far as with the Lakers and Golden State Warriors facing up in the play-in tournament. The Lakers are currently number 7. The Warriors are currently number 9.
I thought they moved up 1.
Are they number 8? I think they're number 9. I'm not sure. But I really think, but regardless of the fact, if the Lakers and Golden State, let's just take the Lakers out of the equation right quick, okay? Let's say whoever Golden State faces, Curry is on a tear. I truly believe we've seen plenty of games where all of their players are hitting on all cylinders.
Okay, the Warriors are in the 8th spot now.
Okay. So they will basically play the Lakers, and whoever wins from their game will reclaim that 7th spot.
Right, because then the 9th and 10th play.
And then the 9th and 10th play each other, and whoever wins that game plays the 8th.
The 8th spot. Right.
So
I'm to be honest, I'm shocked.
I fear for any team
that plays them
in the playoffs, though.
Right. Yeah, and I fear anybody that even play them in the play-in, right, because they're going to make sure that they get a spot. Because when the season had started, I was like, oh my God, no Klay Thompson again for the straight second year out. And I'm like, okay, Draymond gonna try to do everything that he can to make sure Curry looks good on the court.
Facts.
And he's been doing that. So now that when the season started, they were like way at the bottom. They was just losing game after game. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, what's going to happen to the Warriors? And for them to be just fighting every single game. And they're at the 8th seed. You know what I'm saying? So
they're a 500 team?
They 35 and 33.
Okay. 2 games over 500.
So at this point, because the Lakers is now 38 and 30, which is what the Knicks are. So I think and go back to the Lakers, I think their thing is they're going to try to win as many games as they possibly can, to where if they can move up to the 6th spot to knock Portland down.
So that's another. I truly believe they're gonna come out all guns blazing tomorrow.
Yeah, because they're not gonna wanna. The fact that they're facing the play-in,
right,
and they're actually right now playing games without LeBron. So most likely they're gonna come out with guns blazing, like you said,
right,
to make sure that they're not stuck in that 7th spot to be playing against the Warriors.
Yeah, and whoever faces the Warriors, I just hope the best for you, because Curry has this thing about when he's an underdog. I feel like he likes being an underdog. I think that this is one of his most. I think he loves this season more than any other season because of the simple fact of the matter is they are the underdog and they are overachieving. So I believe that if Steph Curry, given a chance, is able to solidify himself in the playoffs, which he's already done that, I believe that the Warriors are going to be a tough out for any team in the Western Conference when it comes to that 8 versus 1. Especially that'll be Utah. If the Warriors cling on to the 8th spot, and they or the 7th spot, if they win the 7th spot, they'll play Phoenix, who I think that the Warriors could beat. If they reclaim the 8th spot, they'll be playing Utah Jazz, who I don't think that they can necessarily beat, but I wouldn't all the way rule them out because of Curry. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I wouldn't rule that out either. Because, I mean, it's Curry. At the end of the day, it's Curry.
Yeah.
He can make shot from anywhere on the doggone court.
Yeah, but if your team's if it's not just a Curry team.
It's not just a Curry team. And I think they'll play harder on Curry because the simple fact is it's Curry. So right. They'll be double teaming him.
And if you know anything about the playoffs is a half court set. It's a lot of half court. You playing slower. It's more focused. The defense is even more intense than it is in the off season. I mean, in the regular season. That's why I pride the Knicks so much too. Because I'm like, if your defense can be this good in the regular season, imagine what your defense can be when the game slows down. When you could really focus on that defense. That's what makes me feel like I think that the Knicks can at least get to the second round because their defense is like really, really intense.
Right, it is.
And it get to a point where with the Knicks, you're playing against the Knicks team, you just can't score on them. And you're like, darn, I can't score on this team. We've seen plenty of situations with the Knicks where teams didn't score over 100. We seen last night with the Clippers, they only got to 100. And this is the top 3-point shooting team in the league. This is one of the top 5 best offenses in the league. And we held them to only 100 points. And I believe that if we would have really focused even more on our defense, that we could have held them to under 100 points.
Yeah, because when the Knicks played defense, they win games.
Right.
If they can anytime they can hold a team under 100 or they barely get to 100, they're going to win. Because as long as they continue on playing their defense, you can count on the Knicks to win a game.
Yes.
And then my thing is once they, keep guys from shooting, they need to make sure that their offense is up when they get the ball and go to the other end. Because a lot of times, too, they playing good on defense, but then they shots don't fall.
Right.
And that's when you be like, oh, my God, would y'all just stop shooting on the outside and just drive to the paint and see if you can draw a foul or something. Especially if, the outside shot ain't falling at that particular time. Just listen. Y'all don't play this game long enough. We as outsiders shouldn't be trying to predict or portray or say how y'all should play the game. Y'all been playing this game for years. Y'all should know how to switch y'all game up by now. I'm an outsider looking in, and I can just be looking and saying, okay, if it ain't falling for me right there, why I'm going to keep doing that? If I see that my outside shot ain't falling, listen, y'all needs to move. Y'all need to run this floor. Y'all need to space the floor. Do something. Move that ball and get into that paint. Y'all can't keep trying to do the same thing over and over again. It's like, who gonna keep, just like a dog. You don't eat your food and regurgitate, which they do. They go right back to it. Do the same, come on now. Change it up. Do something different.
Right. Well, all I could do is just hope for the best for the Knicks with these upcoming 4 games. and how they finish out this season. I hope that they finish out the season on the best note and go into the playoffs on a good note, knowing that they can beat the majority of the teams that they're going to play. So, I mean, we're not going to hold you guys up anymore. Once again, we would like to thank you for viewing our video. And if you are new to the channel and you like our content, make sure that you like, subscribe, hit that notification button, share it to your friends and family and those who you keep truly in your heart. Share it on all platforms that you may be on. And, you know, you got anything else you want to say?
And please leave, you know, questions, comment, whatever you would like for us to talk about. You know, we'll really appreciate it. We thank you for tuning in. You know, I thank y'all. You know, I'm starting to get comfortable in doing this a little bit, you know, just to, you know, share my viewpoint. You know, in this world, is not too many females that we've noticed and, you know, commented on sports. I'm a sports girl. I watch all sports. You know, but basketball is like, it's a passion. It's like a drug. So I do get, you know, sometimes emotional, attached to certain players and teams and, you know, stuff like that. Like, you know, like he said, you know, like, subscribe, share to your family, friends.
And just, you know, just link in with us. And, you know, one thing that I gotta say before we tune out, and believe this is OU and Knicks podcast, broadcasting to you weekly. And one thing I have to say, if you are a grown individual, lead by example.